The way we're going to be doing this SIcha is by going through in English the translation of the full SIcha, hopefully covering all the text of the SIcha, but just without reading the SIcha inside. We're learning the SIcha of Chelek Yud, Parshas Chayei, SIcha Aleph. The Rebbe starts off the SIcha by saying that on the Pasuk, V'yitin liyas Mearas hamachpaila, that Avrohom is requesting that he wants to get the Mearas hamachpaila. The Pasuk goes on to say, B'chesef mole yitnenuli, that I'm going to pay the full price for it. Rashi explains, B'chesef mole ashalem kol shavya, I'm going to pay its full worth. V'chein David omar la Ravna, and so too David says to our Ravna, B'chesef mole, with the full money, with the full price. So the Rebbe asks a number of questions. Number one, what's Rashi emphasizing by saying that B'kesef mole means kol shavya, its whole worth? Seemingly, that's the simple translation of the words B'kesef mole. Secondly, what's the proof from the words kesef mole that says in Divrei Hayamim, in the story with Aravna, since it's exactly the same words that David HaMelech uses, B'kesef mole, so how is it actually helping the pshat in our pasuk? Now, seemingly, we would be able to explain this and say what Rashi is trying to do is bring as a proof, as another place where we find this expression, because Rashi had a problem with the word mole, to use the word full in regards to kesef, in regards to money. Because seemingly the word mole would be fitting in a place where you would say that it's possible something of the opposite nature. So we use a term mole if there could be something that's empty. So for example, by a keli, we have the expression in the Torah, Vatamale chada, she filled the pitcher, but we understand the pitcher could also be empty. We have a pasuk, Vahaboy reik, the pit, the well was empty. We understand the well could be full. But when you come to money, what would be the opposite of mole? What would be the opposite of full? Empty money. So seemingly, a better expression would have been that shalem would be complete, as opposed to chaser, which would be lacking and missing. Maybe a term could have been used, rav, a lot of money, as opposed to ma'at. But what does the word mole mean? What's the opposite of mole? And therefore Rashi wants to say that he found another example that David also, to Aravna, he uses a similar expression, B'kesef mole. Rashi is trying to prove that it is the style of the pasuk to use this term mole in regards to kesef, rather than saying shalem, complete, or a similar sort of expression that we thought may have been more appropriate. The problem with this, however, is Rashi should have just said then, V'chein b'David. And so too we find by David. Like we find in other places that Rashi will say, V'chein b'Yoina, or other similar examples where Rashi wants to say that we find something similar. So why does Rashi not use that term, V'chein b'David? Furthermore, the Rebbe says, since the whole point that Rashi is trying to explain, according to this explanation, is just to tell us that we have another place where Tanakh uses the expression kesef mole, Rashi is not trying to explain to us the meaning of the words kesef mole, because as said before, seemingly this is self-obvious and self-understood. So all Rashi needed to say, Rashi should have said that V'chein David Omar la Ravna, so to David said to Aravna, B'kesef mole, with full money, with complete money. Rashi does not need the words Ashalem kol shavya that Rashi is explaining, which means I will pay the whole worth, because as said before already, it's obvious that that's what those words kesef mole means. Some more questions that Rebbe has on the Rashi. Since Rashi is quoting and explaining the words B'kesef mole, so all Rashi needed to say is kol shavya, its whole worth. Why does Rashi add and say ashalim, I will pay its whole worth? We understand Avrohom Avinu is paying it. Why does Rashi need a word that add the word ashalim? Another question is, why does Rashi need to elaborate and say, V'chein David Omar la Ravna, David said to Aravna, etc.? All Rashi needed to say was, as he does in other cases, V'chein b'David, and so too by David, we find the expression bekesef moli. So the Rebbe says the explanation in all of this is as follows. At first glance, when we look at the words bekesef moli, we think that the word moli is referring to the word kesef. That is to say that Avrohom is trying to notify and to tell us that the coins of silver that are going to be used are full coins, meaning there's nothing lacking in their weight. They are complete and proper coins. Or something similar to what the Yerushalmi says on the words kesef mole, kinterin, which again means complete big coins. Or as Rashi says that Ephraim took from Avrohom big shkolim. So that's what we think the word kesef mole might mean. It's a reference to the kind of coins that was being used and the kind of silver that's being used. This is what Rashi is coming to negate. Rashi is saying that the word kesef mole is not speaking about what kind of coins are going to be used and the weight of the coins, rather telling us that kesef mole means I'm going to pay its full worth. In other words, the word mole is not coming to describe and to translate and to explain to us anything about the silver, its weight, its quantity, or anything like that. Rather, it's coming to emphasize that as far as the field is concerned, the full price is going to be paid for it. Avrohom is saying, bekesef mole, as Rashi says, ashalim, I'm going to pay the full value of the field. In other words, that the money that's going to be paid is going to complete and be filling the full price. And that's what Rashi is trying to tell us. What's forcing Rashi to say this? When we follow the psukim, we understand that Avrohom, when he comes to Bnei Ches and he says, V'yitanli, he's requesting that the Mearas hamachpaila should be given to him. Bekesef moli itnanali is going to pay the full price. What is Avrohom Avinu coming to negate? He's coming to negate what the Bnei Ches had originally said. They said, Nesi elikim ata b'seichenu, you are a prince of Hashem amongst us. Choose the best grave, we won't hold it back from you. In other words, they were recommending that he takes it for free. Avrohom is coming to say, I don't agree to this. I want to pay kesef mole, the full price. If we should say, as we originally thought a possibility, that kesef mole means that he's going to be paying with big coins, etc., then Avrohom's response to them regarding what kind of coins he's going to use is actually not responding to what they said. They said, we want to give it to you for free. And he says, I'm going to give you big coins. In other words, first he has to establish that he's going to take it, not as a gift, but he's going to buy it. Only then can we be discussing what kind of money he's going to be using. This is what forces Rashi to say that what it actually means he's going to be paying the full price. And Rashi doesn't just say, Kol Shavyu, its full value. He adds the word Ashalim, I'm going to pay, because that's the main point he's trying to make, that it's going to be not a free gift, but rather he's going to pay for it. And that's what's forcing him to translate the word Kesef Moli, that I'm going to pay its full value, rather than thinking that it's referring to the coins. The problem, however, is seemingly we would still be able to say that mole does refer to the coins, what kind of coins he's going to use. Even though Avrohom is trying to respond to Bnei Ches, because when he says, I'm going to pay big coins, even though seemingly, as we just said, he's not giving a response to what they just said, but nevertheless we could say, included in the fact that he's going to give full coins, is obviously also the fact that he's going to be paying for it. So why can't we say that when Avrohom says Kesef Mole, it has both meanings? In other words, Kesef Mole maybe could mean that he's going to be paying the full big coins, and included in that would also automatically be the response that yes, he's going to pay rather than take it for free. In order to negate this sort of pshat and Kesef Mole, Rashi adds the words, V'chein David Amar la Ravna, that David also said to Ravna, B'kesef Mole. Rashi is not trying, as we thought before, to just bring another example where we find the words B'kesef Mole, but he's trying to strengthen his explanation in the words B'kesef Mole, that B'kesef Mole, all B'kesef Mole is coming to do is again not to describe the coins, but it's coming to negate the idea of taking a free gift. And this could be proven from the story in Divrei Hayomim. Just to clarify before continuing the SIcha, just to clarify what's going on in Divrei Hayomim, David HaMelech is wanting to buy the place where the Beis HaMikdash is going to be built, and this he's buying from Aravna. And originally he conquered it, but nevertheless now he wants to pay for it. So let's see now the continuation of the SIcha. The reason why David HaMelech wants to pay for the silo for this particular place of Aravna Bekesef Moli, the Psukim themselves say the reason. David HaMelech says, Kiloi eso asher loch l'chol Hashem. I'm not going to bring up that which belongs to you to Hashem. Rashi, the Pasuk goes on to say, I'm not going to be bringing karbonis oila for free. In other words, the point why David HaMelech wants to buy it, he wants to pay the full value, so it shouldn't be that anything of Aravna has anything to do with the Beis HaMikdash and with the karbonis. This is why Rashi elaborates. And he says, V'chein David Amar La Aravna, David says this to Aravna, to indicate on the context of what's going on over there. In other words, that the reason why David said to Aravna that he doesn't want to take it for free, that's going to be his proof for the words Bekesef Moli. Because just like David HaMelech wanted completely to have ownership of it, he wasn't interested in Aravna having any connection to it, that's why he's paying full price. That's exactly what Avrohom Avinu is saying as well, as we will see more about in a minute. The Rebbe says, to explain even a further idea, why Rashi says, V'chein David, why the Rashi brings V'chein David, Omer La Aravna, and this will make even more geschmack, why it's specifically these words that Rashi, with this is hinting and indicating that we're really speaking about the context of what's being going on in that story. And this is specifically the way Rashi says it. Because the truth of the matter is, one could ask, what is actually the reason that Avrohom wanted to buy the field specifically and pay full price for it? Why couldn't he just take it without payment? And as Rashi himself says, that Avrohom Avinu really could have taken it because Hashem said, I'm going to give it to your children. So he could have claimed the rights to it. And this is what Rashi is explaining to us, that what Avrohom Avinu did was similar to what David HaMelech said to Aravna Bekesef Mole, and from there we can understand to our case as well. David HaMelech conquered Yerushalayim from Aravna, who was the king. He acquired it in a full kibush, that means he conquered it completely, it belongs to him completely now. And nevertheless, David HaMelech does not suffice with this, he wants to buy it from Aravna. And the reason, as we said before, is because David said, I don't want to take anything that's yours and bring it up to Hashem. I don't want your things to have any shaykhs to the karbonits and to the Beis HaMikdash. That means to say, if David HaMelech would have taken this silo, this area, only because he conquered it, so yes, halachically, technically it's his, but it's not negating completely Aravna's association with this area. Furthermore, even if it would be given as a present, in other words, he's completely agreeing to give it away, nevertheless, there's always going to be some association that Aravna was the one that gave it. There's still going to be something of Aravna connecting him to this place. And this is what David HaMelech says, I don't want to bring that which is yours to Hashem. So David HaMelech pays for it with a full price in order to remove any rights of Aravna so that he has no connection anymore to the place, to the Mizbeach, to the Karbonis, etc. That's exactly what Avrohom also wanted, that this cave, the Mearas hamachpaila, in which he's going to be burying Sarah, and in which Avrohom Avinu himself is going to be buried together with all the other Avis and Imois. He didn't want it should have any sort of connection to Ephraim in a way that it could still be called in some way, this used to be Ephraim's, it's part of Ephraim's, he gave it, etc. Therefore, he refused to just take it because he deserves it, or not even as a gift. Rather, he wants to pay the full price. The Rebbe now goes on in If Zayin of the SIcha and says that in Rashi we have also amazing inyanim that are also relevant to other parts of the Torah. And through Rashi's explanation over here, we also have an answer to a question in the area of halacha in Torah. That is, the concept that land, that real estate could be bought through money. The Gemara learns out from a pasuk in Yirmiyah that says, Sodois ba kesef yiknu. that they'll buy fields through money. Tosfos explains that the reason why the proof is not brought from the story of Ephraim, that Avrohom buys the field with money, is because you might say that a goy is different, because generally the way acquiring things from a goy generally works through money, as opposed to other forms of kinyonim, and therefore maybe we can bring a proof from Ephraim. However, based on the way we explained Rashi, that Avrohom Avinu is saying, I'm going to pay the full worth of the field, we could understand simply why we cannot learn out from here the concept of kinyan from the story of Ephraim. Number one, says the Rebbe, the first thing is that we wouldn't know from this story is the idea of kinyan is as follows. Kinyan could sometimes work that you pay not the full value of the field, you're paying a shava pruta, but because you paid something, we say now as a result of this money being paid, the whole field is acquired. We wouldn't be able to learn out that halacha at all, because according to Rashi, what's Avrohom saying? I'm going to be paying the full value. So in other words, it's not a matter of the money technically being a halachic kind of kinyan, rather it's really just an exchange. I gave you money, you gave me the field. So we're not learning out the concept, the halachic idea of a kinyan. Furthermore, when Avrohom gives the full value to Ephraim, he's actually not giving it just for the simple idea of a kinyan. Because we said before already, Avrohom could have acquired it. The kinyan could have been just because Hashem said, I'm giving it to you. Rather, we said the reason why Avrohom is paying full value is because he doesn't want Ephraim to have any sort of connection whatsoever to this field anymore. And therefore, once again, we can't really learn out the proper regular din of kinyan as far as real estate is concerned, because in this particular case, there was a reason that Avrohom is paying the money, but that's not the main kinyan that's happening. Finally, in SIcha, the Rebbe says from the Inyanim in Yena Shel Torah, in the Chassidus part of our Rashi. So the Rebbe says, we know it says in the Zohar that mitzvahs need to be not in a way that it's coming for free, not in a way that's coming in an empty and free place, because then the mitzvah does not draw down the spirit of kedusha. The concept of free things is a seder, is the way things go on in Klippa. In Mitzrayim, as the pasuk says, Asher noichal b'Mitzrayim chinam. In Mitzrayim they ate things for free. Rather, in kedusha, the way things have to be is you put in the effort and you get according to your effort and full payment. This is what Rashi is saying, that Avrohom said, I'm going to pay the full price. And David said, Bekesef Molei, based on the pasuk that we said before, he doesn't want the karbonos to come for free. And this is exactly the way Avrohom acted in his mitzvah of Gmilus Chasodim, that he always did things in a way that he wants to do it with full price. Says the Rebbe that the Hoirah from this in the Avoda Ruchnis to each and every Yid is, we all have to be refining the world through our Avoda and Torah and mitzvahs. We have to refine the place where we find ourselves, that the Yid should be the only balabayas, that means completely taking over. To take the place, and it should be completely acquired to him, that he could do the Avoda in it and change it over, but it has to be again in a way that he's putting in the full effort, the full ishtadlus, not in things that are empty and just come for free. A person shouldn't say to himself that since I have very, very good talents by nature, and Torah was given to me as a gift, as a present, and it's easy for me to do mitzvahs, because even my nefesh abamis and my yetzer hara are not causing so many problems. So therefore, I don't have to get involved and toil and work hard. The Hoirah from Avrohom Avinu and David HaMelech is, they didn't want to get things for free, even something that they deserved rightfully so, and they could have gotten easily. Rather, they paid the full price. That is, even someone that could learn Torah and perform mitzvahs without any effort, without any toil. Nevertheless, the way he needs to act is in refining the world in order to take it completely out of Klippa and make it a proper dira for Hashem. In order for that to happen, you need to have Ishtadlus, Avoda, and Yegiah. And through this we come. Avrohom Avinu, as we know, gave 400 silver pieces, which is called Over La SIcha, that's hard currency. But Chassidus explains that the 400 represents 400 worlds. Kesef is also understood from the world of desire and love. These are 400 worlds of yearning and desire and love to Hashem that the tzaddikim get la'asid lavoi. And it's the Isgalus, the revelation of Soiviv Kalam, and hinted in the world over La Soicha, something that's completely going. Soicha is explaining Chassidus, is from the word Schor, which means going surrounding and around. And this is something that comes to all the Yidden because Va'ameich Kulam Tzadikim.